This is the Unexpected Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Unexpected Podcast, and I have an unexpected guest today. Luke, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. This is Luke, our oldest son, and this is his first time being a guest, but guess what? If you've watched or listened to the podcast before, you've heard the theme music that was created by Luke. So right now we're running a little bit of an abbreviated intro. But if you go back to an older episode and you hear that, you're going to hear all of Luke's music that he created, as well as at the end of the podcast.
Yep.
And it's so clever because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the background, sing it for us. You say, but then you say, what am I going to do?
Oh, yeah. What am I going to do with you?
With you. It's great. It's great. It's subtle, and I love it. I love it. So some of you guys know Luke, but if you don't, he's super talented, but also just a great guy and loves music, creates music, produces music. What else? What else you want to tell us about yourself today?
I like lots of things. I like philosophy. I like theology. I like family. I like creativity, friends, lots of things.
Lots of
tea,
which
I have.
Yeah, we're having tea, and you're having a spicy variety. I'm having just kind of a bland variety at the moment.
Yep.
Well, here's what's really cool. Luke has agreed to come on, and
yeah, it was consensual.
Yes, exactly. It
You're
was
by choice.
Yes, he has agreed. You're here by choice.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. He's agreed to come on and talk about a topic that he doesn't know anything about prior to this moment. So we're going to jump into that. But I think I'm not going to throw you any, I'm going to throw you some softballs or throw you some things that you're
some
probably feeling. Yeah. But I mean, Luke's a big, deep thinker, so he could probably jump in on any kind of topic.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let me start it off with a little gift I've got for you.
Oh. Wow.
Can you all see that?
That's exciting.
Yeah. Spam lunch meats. We'll just put that right there.
Is that made of real meat? Is there real meat in that?
Well, I mean, I guess, you've got better eyes than me.
Yeah.
What are the ingredients
Look at
there?
these godly ingredients. Where are the ingredients? Maybe they don't want us to know.
Yeah. I think they're there, though.
That's instructions on how to fry it and slice it.
Oh, wow. Maybe it was on some exterior packaging.
There's 790 milligrams of sodium.
Okay. All right.
That's about all. I really don't know if the ingredients are on here.
That may have come in like a package that had...
here they are.
Oh, there.
Pork with ham, salt, water, modified potato starch, sugar, and sodium nitrite.
Okay. All right. Well, let's turn that baby around here.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yummy. Okay. Well, the reason I have Spam is because I'm thinking about a couple of things. And then I noticed in the pantry, we had this can. I don't know how long it's been there, but it was in there. So, all right. So back in 1970, there was a Monty Python Flying Circus skit. You've heard of Monty Python?
I've only seen the film.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And, the show was on in the early 70s. So, but there was a skit that they did that's become kind of famous called Spam. And in it, there's these Vikings, and they're in this restaurant, and then this man and woman drop down, and they're interested in the menu. Well, they say, like, what's available? And it's like, well, eggs and bacon and Spam, or eggs and Spam, or every menu except maybe one on the, or every item on the menu had Spam. Yeah.
Delicious. Salty.
Yes. So it's pretty funny. And then, but fast forward to the days of like the early internet and chat rooms. The reason that we have the term spam.
Oh, is from that?
It's from that skit, because what happened was people would be in chat rooms, and then somebody would come and bring information that really nobody wanted. So the way that they would kind of like get them out is everybody would start typing spam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or they type quotes from that skit. And that was a way. So then
when was
that? Well, like probably...
Like late 90s?
Late 90s, yeah, I'd say so. When chat rooms became kind of a big deal. And so that's why we use the term spam in the context of the internet to talk about excessive, irrelevant, unwanted, insincere, or repeated communication or content. Mm-hmm. Now, And the reason this kind of got into my, or the reason I was thinking about this was the other day I came across just a guy on the internet.
Right.
Probably,
A
I was
gentleman.
getting spammed. Probably.
Oh,
No,
not a gentleman.
no, he was a gentleman.
Oh, okay.
It was somebody just kind of giving their opinion about what's the future of the internet, and so they were talking about how just like in that skit, there weren't a variety of choices. It was like you can have this, but pretty much everything has spam. If you don't like spam, it doesn't matter. You're getting spam, and so. And it seems that the internet has kind of become that way to where in the beginning, there was all kinds of creativity, information, and there still is, but there's also so much content that it's like spam is taking over.
Okay.
So,
yeah. It's partially induced by like intense media, like propaganda and such.
Right. And of course, like a huge percentage of what's out there is, provided by bots, and it's not so there's a lack of humanity in a lot of what we're actually sifting through online, depending on where we go online.
Even on like dating sites.
Oh, yeah.
There are people that don't exist that you're chatting with, and they're not real. It's letting down young men.
See, that's profound, isn't it? I mean, profound as far as where our society is. So I had a couple of thoughts because a few episodes back we were talking about creativity, but let me jump off with this idea.
Hit me with it.
Hit you with it. First of all, I would say, okay, because you and your generation grew up with the internet. Okay, so like I can remember. Few friends that had access to dial-up internet, so it was something brand new.
Like in the late 80s or 90s, probably?
Yeah, very late 80s.
Okay.
I had one friend who, was on the internet. Nobody else knew what it was. He was kind of like, he ended up becoming a computer programmer. So,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So, he knew a lot about computers. But, so that, and then by the time I was in graduate school, search engines were becoming more prominent, but still, there was still a smaller amount of web pages, and
probably
then
way fewer.
Way fewer. And then when I was in graduate school, we had a professor who started talking about, he was talking about the history of communication, but predicting where things were going to go. And I remember him saying, like, there'll come a time when you can go on your computer and you'll actually be able to just pull up any show that you would like to watch on demand.
Yeah.
We'd never even heard that term on
Wild
demand.
idea at the time.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, that seems so far-fetched. He's like, you'll go on your computer and you'll pay your bills. And we're like, what? That's crazy. That's crazy talk. So the point being there that, we, people of my generation, have seen this big evolution. But you kind of have grown up with access to the internet. But would you say, going back to the idea of the spam, do you think things are becoming less and less nuanced?
In how people interact with each other? Or?
Well, I mean, in the information that's out there.
Oh, I feel like both ways, like, or definitely they become more nuanced as far as the ability for like long form podcast interviews.
Okay. Yeah.
Also blogs are can be very detailed, and like there's a lot of access to like scientific papers and all sorts of literature. But then I don't know, it seems like people are more maybe ideologically similar in certain ways now, in ways that kind of make them sound the same and kind of spam the same type of content.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm answering your
No,
question
absolutely.
exactly,
Absolutely. But there's a difference, I think, if you're scrolling through social media. So would you say social media perhaps has become a little less nuanced? Like you see a lot of the same kinds of things over and over, or not so much?
I haven't had social media that long, so it's hard for me to tell.
Yeah.
Because I've only had it for like a few years, really.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't like have it in elementary school or anything.
True. Yeah.
So definitely, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure though. To be
Okay.
honest.
All right. Well, something I was thinking about was, we don't know where all this is heading, but do you have any thoughts on where things are heading, like with the internet, with online content?
Oh, well,
Any predictions?
I think AI has gotten a lot more powerful and
Mm.
intelligent,
Hmm.
and will get more so that way. Um, Probably to where you won't be able to tell what's real,
Yeah.
and then you'll need systems that can then verify whether things are real, and you'll have to make sure those systems are trustworthy.
Hmm.
Um, so that's
Mm.
scary.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
Well,
Sorry.
where do you see like the future of the internet going?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah. Like
That will
in what
definitely,
direction?
artificial intelligence is a big
Mhm.
part of that.
Mhm.
I think we're very fragmented socially,
Mhm.
and I think obsession with online content probably plays a role in that,
Yeah.
and kind of people being on their phones
Yeah.
very frequently in
Right.
social situations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm thinking maybe that will lead, it will definitely eventually lead
Mm.
to the internet being, people will
Mhm.
realize that that is not optimal,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah.
way past our lifetime, but in the next couple of years, I mean,
Mhm.
the biggest thing I think is AI that I
Yeah.
can think of off the top of my
Yeah.
head, off the dome,
That's
as they
true.
say. What
Off
about
the
you?
dome.
What do
Well,
you think?
no, it's interesting what you said about people spending so much time on social media because I have made an observation about myself and my own interaction with it.
Uh-huh.
Because I like many people, you kind of just it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
You pick up your phone, it's like, "Oh, I just need a little downtime. I'm gonna sit here and just and scroll."
Yeah.
Um, but I have noticed that that is becoming less and less appealing to me.
Mm.
And so and it may go from platform to platform. So it's like, in the early days of Facebook, and I was probably on Facebook pretty early just because a coworker was like, "You ever heard of this Facebook thing?" And we were working at night and we created an account.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Was it? Do
yeah,
I know who it?
yeah, Julie.
Okay, I didn't know if I could.
Julie, shout out to
Yeah.
Julie. And so, that was interesting for a while. But now it's kind of like, I mean, I'll still look at Facebook because I like to connect with people.
Hmm.
It's good to keep up with what people are, people that I have a relationship with. But it's less appealing,
Yeah.
And then Instagram, it's becoming less appealing. So,
Facebook
um,
seems more spammy to me.
yeah.
At least I don't get on it much, but
Yeah.
half of my content is not anyone I know.
Oh,
Like, it's
yeah.
just like random
Okay.
ads
Okay.
and weird memes that aren't that funny.
Okay. That's
So
interesting. Okay. Okay. I guess maybe because of my generation and I'm connected to a lot of people on Facebook, I feel like
yeah,
mine is more,
detached from the actual people you're following or
well,
friends with.
no, I think it's more directly correlates to people that I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't find it to be so spammy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Whereas maybe other platforms I do. So,
Okay, interesting. Maybe it has something to do with like how much you use a platform.
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
starts to realize what you're looking for.
True. True. It knows. Well, let's bring this around to the idea of creativity because, I mean, you already mentioned AI.
Hmm.
So, uh, I was talking, in fact, to Julie again today, Julie, about AI. And she brought up a great point that someone had said was, yeah, like Chat GPT and all these things can be a great tool. But someone had made the analogy like just because you watch someone exercise on a video doesn't mean that you're benefiting from the exercise. You didn't have to work anything. And so, there's definitely that's a concern to me, like this danger of just getting lazy because it's like
Oh, yeah.
quick answers. We don't really have to memorize or process things. We just let a machine process it
Sure.
for us.
Yeah.
That's a danger.
Yeah.
But I also look at like creativity. So how would you say that people who are creative, whether it could be anything. I mean, there's lots of avenues for creativity. We think of the traditional music and art and writing and film, but people bring creativity to running a business, all sorts of things. But how can people stay true to their creativity? I mean, that's a
Mm.
huge question. But in the
Yeah.
face of AI and maybe in the face
Mm.
of um, what gets clicks, I mean, that's a big
Yeah.
thing too, because how much are people catering what they create? And I know you're probably pretty passionate about this.
Hmm.
How much are people catering uh, to their projected audience
Yeah.
versus what is maybe true and authentic to them?
Yeah. Hmm.
So how do we stay true
I think
to our mission?
I don't know. I think it's probably partially just a process. Everyone has to like kind of find their own way,
Mhm.
because everyone has different experiences and
Mhm.
different circumstances. But
Mhm.
um, I think learning what speaks to you, if you hypothetically imagine not um, getting any recognition or not getting any popularity or fame or money,
Mhm.
would you still be deeply attached to this thing, even if no one around you approved of it?
Mhm.
Because like a lot of great artists have really kind of not been liked, like
Right.
by some people, and then
Mhm.
later people realize it was great.
Yeah,
So
right.
like, I think if you want to be a great artist, you have to sort of be humble enough to listen to an audience that's telling you something
Mhm.
valuable about your art, but also be connected enough to the art that if a large group of people says they don't like it, you
Mhm.
still are able to stay true to it, because art is often on the edge of what is known
Mhm.
and what is familiar. Like creatives are looking for what's outside of the familiarity of the
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
um and so really I think comes down to finding like what calls to you, I think.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then with AI and laziness, were you asking like people could creatively be lazy due to AI's like tools?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it can be really helpful.
Mhm.
I think it's the danger comes from taking more credit than you deserve for something.
Mm.
You can use AI and it can make
Yeah.
a good product, but then you can identify it with the product it came up with your own talent.
Mhm.
When without the AI, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it's like a humility
Mm.
issue,
Okay.
and not
That's
lying
interesting.
about, because like AI is going to
Yeah.
be able to bring great things, I think,
Mhm.
and it might make great pieces of art, but we should appreciate the art while not, narcissistically thinking that we were
Yeah.
the people that came up with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting because, and I've mentioned this, I think, recently. I'm going to be releasing a book very soon. And, so I hired an editor. I'd worked with him before. And, and it's great because to me, having an editor is not just about getting what I've created, making it better, but also it's a teaching tool to
Oh
me.
yeah.
Because if I
Definitely.
look like, oh, he suggested this change, he just suggests changes, and then I decide if I want to go with that change or not. Um, but I love what you said about the humility thing
Hmm.
because I'll go back and, because I'm going to have to read my proof once it comes in the mail. And I have to remember, like, oh, that's a really good verb there. Like, oh, he kind of suggested that one, to where like the humility of
Oh
like I
right.
had some assistance there
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
although it's still my story and it's
Totally.
still,
Yeah.
my style and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like you take those tools but then again, I can learn from it. So,
Yeah.
in other
Totally.
words, I'm not going to be like, okay, if I decide to write another book, I'm like, oh, I'll let the editor fix it. No, I take it as
Yeah.
I wanted to better my craft
Sure.
and learn through each process
And
and
that's
get
what
better.
Zach McDonald, shout out Zach McDonald. I did a
Yeah.
soundtrack for his book, or was part of doing the soundtrack for his book, called Riley Taylor, the Song of Hidden Stars. So check that out if you want. But anyway, he said the same thing. Like he
Mm.
got his copy back from the editor,
Hmm.
and then now due to how brutal that experience was, like how poor he felt his writing was
Oh,
after
uh-huh.
seeing the notes.
Yeah.
He revised it, and then but learned from that, so that the next book he thinks is, if he's able to make it, is going to
Yeah.
be better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's amazing what you learn by going through the creative process. And this is kind of a kickback to a couple of episodes ago. We talked
okay.
about that, like not being afraid. And I think you're really good about that. Like,
Hmm.
not being afraid to just try something
Yeah.
new and not worrying about the end product at the
I'm
start.
trying. I definitely worry about the end product. I think I have so
Okay.
much of my future that tied to my creativity, like because I want my career to be in it,
Mm-hmm.
that it can be tough to separate those.
Yeah.
But I do really find a lot of my life's meaning in that kind of risky creative business where I'm just alone doing weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
Yeah.
but then those end up being things people tend to like the most, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
the stuff that I try to craft to be this like likable thing.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said earlier in that uh, sometimes artists or writers, creators, create something that a lot of people don't like,
Yeah.
or that it's maybe not well received by the traditional critics. And I think of some books that I really, really like.
Yeah.
I know one particular book is actually a Christian author and it was a book that came out in the 90s. But I think that author went to about 200 different publishers who said no.
Oh, wow.
But then it became a bestseller.
Yeah. Well.
So
Well,
it just had to find somebody that believed in it.
Yeah, and if what you're doing is so on the outskirts of like what's popular or bringing in money now,
Yeah.
then a lot of people are doing creativity as a profession, and so they're thinking about the audience, and so
Right.
really maybe your thing won't sell even if it is a great piece of art. And so you have to kind of, that's why like a lot of weird films are funded by like really rich people who also are passionate about the arts.
Right.
It's not like a big studio that's going to fund
Yeah.
like a David Lynch film typically.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think about The Great Gatsby. I mean, considered now to be one of the great American novels of the 20th century. But I think F. Scott Fitzgerald only sold about 4,000 copies while he was still alive.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now look how many have sold.
Right.
Millions upon millions.
But I may have made a mistake about Lynch because now people, because he was so weird at the get-go, I'm sure people were not sure about him. I'm sure he had denials to his work. I'm not advocating watching David Lynch or not watching him. That's up to you. But what was I saying? But now that has a fan base, then studios realize, oh wait, people are into this, so they will fund something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. All right,
Anyway.
Luke. Well, any last thoughts about spam? Because another aspect of spam is, it's not necessarily full of nutrition. I mean, it might get you through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's maybe not the most nutritive to our spirits and souls.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to sometimes step back, not just as far as looking at what we create, but also what we consume. And just kind of
totally.
evaluate. Yeah, is this really, maybe? And I tell myself all the time, like, I'm gonna sit this phone down or turn the television off, and pick up a good book or write in my journal or whatever things
something more valuable
that are more valuable. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think spam is maybe associated or similar to the word chaff in the biblical wheat and chaff.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because it's something that is kind of useless and needs to be gotten rid of, and doesn't have like a core heart to it. And so I think it relates to all of our lives in the sense that maybe there are parts of us that are flimsy and fragile that need to be separated, or there's parts of what we partake in our life, whether it be like types of media or certain styles of relationships that are sort of a spam. It's a lot of nothing or something, or a lot of something valuable, kind of dead wood.
Yeah.
That needs to be. Maybe.
That's great. That's that's a powerful final thought.
Yeah.
So, well, Luke, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm sure you'll be back at some point. And you never know.
This
who's
is my
gonna
mom.
Show up here. Yeah.
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 Family hug.
Family hug. All right. Well, guys, we so appreciate you. If you would, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that already. And if you're on YouTube, and we appreciate those of you who are out there listening through audio streaming platforms, because I should have pointed out, I forget sometimes to point out that you're not all watching. Sometimes you're listening, and I forget to point out the what we're actually looking at.
Oh yeah, this is
the can of spam. Yeah, it's a beautiful can of spam. I mean, I have to admit, the spam can is just kind of cool because it's rectangular, but
that's one reason. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next episode.
Goodbye.
Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.